Welcome to the Brycen Show, 27th of February, 2013. What's up, guys? How's everybody doing? It's Wednesday, hump day, as they like to call it. Well, we're almost halfway through the week, everybody, so rest assured, when the weekend comes, it's going to be party time. Anyways, I really don't know why I do that. God, one night of drinking freaking tears me up for like 3 days anymore. Anyways, let's get it to the news. We're going to start out with Fox News. Let's check it out. Let's see what's going on here. Latest news. We'll read the latest news. Hagel takes charge of Defense Department after bruising confirmation battle. Polk speaks of joy, difficulty, and final public address. Condo Association asks soldier to take down U.S. flag. Teen shot 15 times after telling gang he wants out. Mom's drinking tied to infant deaths, study finds. Well, let's read this main article. Colorado Republicans bristle as White House meddles in state's gun control debate. Republican, and this is from FoxNews.com by Barnini Chakraborty. Republican lawmakers in Colorado say they want the White House to stay out of their state battle over gun control, accusing Vice President Biden of personally leaning on Democratic legislators for their votes in a tight campaign that could change the national conversation on gun rights. Republican State Representative Carol Murray told FoxNews.com she doesn't appreciate, quote, East Coast politics interfering in her state. The concern comes ahead of a 10th Senate vote, which could come late next week, and after a vote in the House that prompted the White House to take the unusual step of lobbying wavering Democrats. So here you have the White House acting as a lobbyist towards the gun control crowd in Colorado. Biden's office confirmed to FoxNews.com he made 4 phone calls to Colorado Democrats, 2 in moderate districts, but did not say what they were about. Multiple sources, though, tell FoxNews.com that about 8 hours into last week's 12-hour House debate, Biden called Democrats Mark Ferrandino, Mike McLaughlin, Tony Exum, and Dominic Marino to solidify support for the measures and to, quote, remind them about the importance of the legislation. House lawmakers in Colorado, home to 2 of the deadliest mass shootings in U.S. history, narrowly passed a handful of gun control bills last week. The measures are headed to the Senate in early March, where they are expected to face an uphill battle, though it's unclear what steps the White House might take this time to solidify support. Explaining the substance of the Biden call last week, Exum told the Denver Post the vice president, quote, said it would send a strong message to the rest of the country that a western state had passed gun control bills. One measure would limit magazines to 15 rounds for 4 firearms and 8 for shotguns. Every House Republican, as well as 3 Democrats, voted against that measure, which passed 34 to 31. The House also approved a bill requiring background checks on all gun purchases. Hold on, The third proposal would ban concealed firearms at colleges and stadiums, while the fourth would require gun purchasers to pay for their own background checks. The closest vote was on the background check measure, which passed on a 33-32 vote. Republicans argued that the proposals restrict their Second Amendment rights and have called the bills a knee-jerk reaction to the recent mass shootings in Colorado and Connecticut. So yeah, the gun battle wages on. Let's see here, what else? Alright, in classic Fox News report, Al-Qaeda finds new stronghold in rugged mountains of Mali as it regroups in Africa. Now remember, InfoWars, Alex Jones, Jeff Rentz, everybody at one point in time, a few years back, it probably wasn't even a year, we're talking about how we were setting up a military position in Africa, and now you're seeing that, now Al-Qaeda's moving there. So either we followed Al-Qaeda there or they followed us there. But yeah, interesting things. Al-Qaeda, in this article, is Al-Qaeda finds new stronghold in rugged mountains of Mali as it regroups in Africa by, just says published February 27th, 2013. Anyways, Al-Qaeda has established a vast mountain stronghold in Mali's lawless north, launching attacks and then melting into the rugged hills, which they vow will become an Afghanistan-style quagmire for North African governments and Western militaries, according to experts. Like Tora Bora, the mountain labyrinth in Afghanistan, where Al-Qaeda evaded Western militaries for years under Osama bin Laden, and this is according to Fox News, Mali's Tigharghar mountain chain allows terrorists to strike within the region, and then vanish when pursued, according to a new report by Stratfor, a Texas-based intelligence firm. Caves, tunnels, and landmines have made the jagged mountains an impenetrable safe haven for the terrorists, who authorities say were behind last month's attack on an Algerian gas plant and yesterday's car bombing that killed 6 in Kidal. The terrorist groups are believed to be behind a month-old insurgency in Mali, which the government is fending off with help from France, which seeks to protect the interests of mining and energy companies in the region. But experts believe the effort is part of a larger bid to destabilize northern Africa, where Al-Qaeda is regrouping after fighting American-led Western allies for more than a decade in the Middle East. Extremists vow the mountain refuge will ultimately be worse for their enemies than the decade-long struggle in Afghanistan. They made the mountain's terrain even more impassable by using landmines and improvised explosive devices and digging tunnels, the report states. The militants could already use the extensive network of caves in the mountains, the entrances to which are extremely difficult to spot. In fact, the only way to confirm a cave's location is to observe militants entering and exiting the cave. Al-Qaeda's affiliate in Africa, Al-Qaeda in the Islamic Maghreb, or AQIM, has been a lurking presence for years in Mali, a country decimated by poverty and hunger. But political instability following a military coup last year has emboldened them to take over an enormous territory larger than France or Texas, and almost exactly the size of Afghanistan. Well, here you go, guys. War on Terror version 4. In Tuesday's attack, a bomber exploded his vehicle at a checkpoint near Kidal and killed at least 6, according to the Islamic movement of Azawad, which is fighting alongside the Malian army and French troops against Islamic extremists fighting to overthrow the pro-Western government. France deployed 550 troops and launched airstrikes against the Islamists in northern Mali last month, easily reclaiming cities in northern Mali, but their momentum has slowed as the fighting has reached more remote terrain in the mountains, which rise from the southern Sahara. Yeah, and you get the point of that, so yeah. Fox News is also claiming, and, it's probably true that Al-Qaeda, which anybody who's done any conspiracy theory research knows, there's a lot of... It's heavily infiltrated and run by the CIA. And whether it's run by the CIA or not, I can guarantee you there's so many CIA people in Al-Qaeda, it's insane. And they move. It looks like they're moving with us to Africa, But that's that. Turn off Fox News. Let's go to CNN.com. Let's see here. Let's read this. Wealth inequality between blacks and whites worsens. This is from CNN. Remember, it's definitely Obama liberal biased. The wealth gap between blacks and whites has nearly tripled over the past 25 years, due largely to inequality in home ownership, income, education, and inheritances, according to a new study by Brandeis University. That type of inequality can be a drag on economic growth for everyone, said Thomas Shapiro, director of the university's Institute on Assets and Social Policy, which conducted the research. The difference in wealth between typical households in each racial group ballooned to $236,500 in 2009, up from $85,000 in 1984, according to the study. By 2009, the median net worth of white families was $265,000, while blacks had only $28,500. Previous researchers looked at the same set of 1,700 families over the 25-year period to see how their actual work and school experiences affected their wealth accumulation. What they found is that home ownership is driving the growing gap. Price appreciation is more limited in non-white neighborhoods, making it harder for blacks to build equity. Also, because whites are more likely to have family financial assistance for down payments, they are able to buy homes an average of 8 years earlier than black families. Damn. And to put down larger upfront payments at lower interest rates and mortgage costs. The home ownership rate for whites is 28% higher than that of blacks. Interesting. And now, before we get too far into this, let's look at stock market. Dow Jones is up 109 points and 27 cents at this point in time, or 109 points. And gold is at $1,604 an ounce. So yeah, that's went up quite a bit since the last time I've read it. Even though today it looks like it dropped $11. And you know, gold, man, if gold's up, that means people are nervous. And you know, I'm no stock expert, even though I enjoy reading about it and all that stuff. But yeah, I mean, notice that all these countries and stuff are buying up gold right now. Why is that? Because it's a more stable form of currency. Because I mean, gold, no matter what, is going to be worth something. Anyways, let's move on to rinse.com. See if there's anything good on here today. See. Hegel confirmation confounds America. This is from presstv.ir. This is Hegel confirmation confounds America, and it's written by Gordon Duff. Moments ago, it was announced the U.S. Senate, voting 58-41 along party lines, confirmed Senator Chuck Hagel as Secretary of Defense. 4 Republicans joined Democrats in supporting Hagel in a nomination battle entirely based on the issue of American political subservience to Israel. All 12 Jewish senators voted to confirm Hagel. The two-term Republican senator from Nebraska, now Secretary of Defense and first combat veteran ever to hold that position, has been outspoken in his independence from Israeli influence, at least by American standards. Earlier in the day, the Senate ended a Republican filibuster with a 71-27 vote, setting the stage for Hagel's confirmation. Among the Republican senators to cross the aisle and support fellow Republican Hagel was Rand Paul, a son of former representative and then successful presidential candidate Ron Paul, foremost critic of America's broken, quote, Federal Reserve banking system. To analysts, the confirmation process has been particularly unique in that it has been the most naked exposure the powerful Israel lobby has had. Exposure too blatant that it was featured in comedy skits on network television. In particular, a powerful wedge has been driven between AIPAC, the Israel lobby, and military and veterans organizations. Support for Hagel has been well above 90% with these powerful groups normally closely aligned with Israel. That bond appears to be broken, temporarily at least. Though the media is trying to portray Hagel as damaged by the endless smears he was subjected to during the confirmation hearings, President Obama remained steadfast in his support of Hagel. The initial vote on Hagel's confirmation was blocked when 40 Republican senators walked out of Congress, shutting down the government. The move was orchestrated by Las Vegas gambling boss Sheldon Adelson, key financier behind the failed Romney campaign, who put up millions to block the Hagel nomination. 41 Republicans chose not just to oppose a highly qualified candidate, but also to lay bare the reach of not just the Israel lobby, but interests in the hospitality industry, another way of saying, quote, organized crime. Anyways, if you want to read the rest of that, go to presstv.ir. Hagel confirmation confounds America. Okay, let's see what else we got here. This is from Russia Today. NRA declares government will seize guns. The National Rifle Association claims it has obtained a Justice Department memo that notes President Obama's gun control initiatives would be ineffective without seizing citizens' assault rifles and requiring a federal gun registration. It's not clear how the NRA obtained a memo under the name of one of the Justice Department's leading crime researchers, but its authenticity has neither been challenged by the White House nor the Justice Department. The NRA is using the memo in advertisements, zeroing in on the statement claiming that the success of universal background checks would depend on, quote, requiring gun registration, end quote, and that gun buybacks would not work, quote, unless massive and coupled with a ban. The memo also says that requiring background checks for gun purchases would not be enough to address gun violence and that it could lead to more unlawful weapons sales among those not able to pass or not willing to subject themselves to a background check. Obama has publicly assured gun owners that they would be able to keep their existing assault-style weapons and high-capacity ammunition under tighter gun control legislation. However, the memo, which was kept private until the NRA got a hold of the document, states that exempting already possessed assault weapons wouldn't have much impact on gun violence, since so many rifles of this type are already in the hands of Americans. In televised advertisements across 15 states, the NRA is now citing the 9-page memo as proof that the administration, quote, believes that a gun ban will not work without mandatory gun confiscation, end quote. The advertisements have caused heated discussion about the extent that the government wants to take gun control legislation. Quote, still think President Obama's proposals sound reasonable, end quote, the NRA's chief Washington lobbyist Chris W. Cox said in the ad. But a Justice Department official told the Associated Press that the memo does not represent administration policy, and it was simply just an unfinished review of gun violence research. Publicly, Justice Department and White House officials have so far refused to answer any questions about the document. It remains unclear if the memo represents the administration's standpoint or future plans. Well, of course they're going to deny it. But in January, White House spokesman Jay Carney promised that Obama's gun control proposals would not take away any weapons from law-abiding Americans or require a national gun registry. The NRA's publication of the memo puts the Justice Department in conflict with the Obama administration's public statements on gun control, further adding to the already heated debate on how to address gun violence in the aftermath of the massacre in Newton, Connecticut. While the NRA has used the memo as a warning of the administration plans, Joshua Horwitz, executive director of the Coalition Stop Gun Violence, said the memo is an analysis about gun violence that doesn't seem to indicate any sort of legislative plans by the government. The memo includes data on the frequency of mass shootings, gun violence, and the effectiveness of current legislation. Yeah, well, there you go. Let's see. $60,000 to 70,000 drones coming to American skies. This is from the Moderate Voice, and it's the Real Drone Horror Revenue Enhancement. This was written February 25th by Michael Silverstein, Wall Street columnist. It's now estimated that by the end of this decade, 60,000 to 70,000 drones operated by various federal and local governments will be flying over the United States on a regular basis. The opposition to this technological revolution fears these devices will invade citizen privacy and that they might even be used for government assassinations, the way they are used in some foreign countries. And remember, God, what's the guy's name? The cop killer, which I haven't heard anything about in a while. I think they killed him, didn't they? But they were using drones against that guy. But anyways, the real fear here should focus on the potential of drones as revenue enhancers. About privacy. It's rather late in the day to evoke this worry when it comes to drones. When Esau in the Bible sold his birthright to Jacob for a bowl of porridge, at least he got a good feed out of the deal. What have Americans gotten out of their own privacy sellout? The right to be charged almost 15% interest when they buy things with plastic, purchases that are meticulously tracked by marketeers, the right to surf the internet with every single click or pause tracked by internet firms, the right to talk on cell phones while walking on the street that's tracked by phone service suppliers, the right to drive a new car, vehicles that all now have black boxes installed to let others know where one's been if they haven't already tracked you via your cell phone or other devices. Why would a government agency need drones to invade the privacy that Americans as a people have so egregiously and foolishly trade it away. All a government agency needs to do is spend a few bucks with a data mining company to know more about you than any government agency in history. Governments now have all the technical tools they need to track potential terrorists, all the weapons they need to kill bad guys who deserve to die. Far too many ways to invade public privacy already. Drones will therefore serve another purpose. They will provide more of what governments really want. They want your money. And that's probably a pretty good article. You can go read that at themoderatevoice.com. The Real Drone Horror Revenue Enhancement. Alright, let's go to the Drudge Report. Let's see here. Da-da-da-da-da. You know what? I think that's enough news for today. I'm trying to work on these new A Word to the Wise shows, and I suggest, if you're into like mysticism, the occult, the Bible, even, give it a listen. I mean, there's a lot of research I put into that, and it's very interesting. It's very interesting indeed. I've been thinking what I should do for new Brycen shows that aren't open topic every freaking day. I was thinking about doing a show on the history of the vampire. And, to show that, like, today's modern vampire that, everybody's freaking obsessed with, Twilight, freaking, even the vampire, what is it called? The Vampire Chronicles by Anne Rice. Brad Pitt, damn it. What's that? Interview with the Vampire and Queen of the Damned and all those. Well, that version of the vampire is fairly new and basically started with Anne Rice. The sexualization of the vampire, because originally the vampire probably, well, it's pretty much confirmed, took the form of more of a zombie-like thing. They would rise from the grave, and it was basically an evil spirit was allowed to possess this dead body, and it would walk around and it would feed on, the blood of the living and all that. But yeah, I mean, they were stinky, they were nasty. I mean, it was a decomposing body. But as time went on, yeah, it became a sex symbol, some frickin' how. I don't know. Signs of the times, I guess. Let's see, what else am I going to do a show on? I'm also going to do a show. I just finished the Genesis chapter 7. I got to do... This one's going to be a bunch of research. Basically, I'm going to give an overview of the Babylonian, Assyrian / Sumerian religion, composed of what the priests and the philosophers believed, and that side, which we call, if you've been listening to the show, we call that the sacred or the esoteric, compared to what the people's daily religious practices did, and we call that the profane or the exoteric. And if you've been listening to that series, you should be familiar with those concepts, and they'll both be covered in that show. And it's really amazing, because that really is, whether, Egypt and Babylon, man, that's pretty much where all your mystical tradition and paganistic beliefs not necessarily begin, but that's the oldest form of a comprehensive, doctrine, theology, philosophy. Let's see. But that's Word to the Wise. I'm also thinking, because I already got a lot of the vampire stuff written up from the last time I was doing the Brycen shows. But, so let's see. We got the vampire one. We got the Genesis one to do. We got the Babylonian one to do. I also, and this is going to take a massive amount of research, a lot of articles to quote, but I wanted to do a large series on the CIA mind control stuff of the 60s and 70s, and how a lot of those techniques, and even a lot of people that headed those organizations were actually a part of occultic groups. And a lot of the techniques that you'll see will refer back to these old, mystic traditions and stuff. And so I should probably do that series after I get done with the Babylon, the Egyptian, and even the Greek mysteries. Yeah, very interesting subject. And like I go, and like the purpose of A Word to the Wise is to show the similarities between these different occurrences, because a lot of the stories are the same, but what they mean to each individual culture. And you'll see that the Bible definitely is a different point of view than the rest of these, because they all kind of line up. A lot of the paganistic type stuff, all, because they're based on nature and, observation of the world around it. But yeah, a lot of them will share certain events, like all these. Let's see, Babylon, Greece, Sumeria, even China. The Hindus, I believe, they all have a flood myth, right? And, your skeptics and your materialists and rationalists will be like, well, there's really no archaeological evidence of anything like that. Well, that would be the only, if there was a flood of that violent of a, of that violent of a nature, it probably would have wiped that shit out anyway. But yeah, I mean, come on. You have like 6-7 different cultures that all experienced the flood. Even in Mesoamerica, the Toltecs, or the Olmecs, Toltecs, Mayans. Even though I think Toltec is something different, but yeah, definitely interesting. But yeah, let's see. It's 27 minutes. What else should we talk about? Let's talk about how I'm going to have to go shovel the damn driveway and shovel everybody's cart out again. I'm done with the snow, people. I'm done with it. One of these days I'm going to move to the friggin' desert or something. But yeah, let's see here. What else we talk about? I need to get on here and go on an Amazon book spree. Basically, I don't know. I'm obsessed with gathering books. As if I don't have enough. Really, what I freaking need is a bookshelf before I buy any new damn books. I have books laying everywhere. Gotta love to read, guys. Gotta love to read. If you don't love to read, force yourself to. Alright, well, I think that'll end it today. I hope everybody has a wonderful Wednesday. A lot of bars have specials on Wednesday. Check them out, guys. Drink yourself a craft beer. Drink yourself something good. Alright, guys. Take it easy.